Hello and welcome to Straight Dude Date Night, a show where two straight dudes go on a date and they review it. My name is David Stallings and I am one of the straight dudes.
And I'm Adrian!
Yeah, welcome Adrian. Thank you for joining us this week, Adrian.
It's a pleasure to be here. You guys watching the new movie, Creed? You see Creed?
Does Adrian have that voice?
Adrian, no. I'm
You're
Rocky.
yelling
I'm
Adrian,
Rocky.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I'm talking to my wife, man.
Okay. Interesting introduction, Rocky. Thank you for joining us this week.
It's me, Rocky. Yeah.
Yes, we've brought on a guest this week of the actual legend Rocky. He's gone. He just got up. He
That was
just shook
crazy.
his head and he said,
Did you see Sylvester Stallone walk out of here? It was wild.
bro, he seemed mad.
He just, I don't know. He just was like talking, mumbling,
Yeah,
just
that's
making noises.
that was wild. What's your name again?
Oh, I'm Ricky. Hey.
Hey. Today, if you can't tell, we just saw Creed 3. The new boxer movie is based on the Rocky series, but it's not Rocky. It's Creed. Yeah.
This is the technically 9th movie in the Rocky
Is
franchise.
it really?
Well, I mean, if you count Creed movies into the Rocky universe,
They are a
which they
part
are,
of it. Yeah.
this is the 9th installment.
Jeez,
So
man.
there's 6 Rocky movies and then 3. This is the 3rd Creed.
That's I didn't realize there were 6 Rockies.
Yeah, dude.
That's a lot of Rocky.
It's a whole lot of Rocky. It's a whole lot of talking about Adrian.
Did you see all of them? Have you
Nope.
seen them?
No, I'm a super fan as of yesterday.
You're gonna go watch all of them
Yeah.
now.
Oh, dude, I want to now. That's awesome.
My dad's favorite movie and favorite IP is Rocky. Like
Where is he?
I don't know. He hasn't seen the Creed movies though. But like Rocky and like the original movies have always been his jam. And I remember watching I think the first 3 when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, man, I did not get it. I was not into it. But now I'm kind of like I should probably go back to these movies.
Yeah, it's just about, fighting for your life, man.
Yeah, dude, it's just punching each other in the face.
It's-
No superpowers.
No, it's so much more than that, David.
Bro.
It's about the soul.
It's about the
brotherly
soul.
love and just fighting your way through it.
But
You
it's
just-
also about the build up to the fight, to the actual fighting.
Yeah, the fight's awesome.
Bro.
But man, you got to get back up and get out there and keep on fighting because it's hard in these streets.
Always, man. I do like that message a lot. Let me give the synopsis of this movie real quick. And again, as usual, we will be spoiling everything. So buckle up. So Creed 3, starring Michael B. Jordan as Donnie Creed. He's basically in retirement after achieving everything he set out to do. He's the heavyweight world champion, I think is the title.
Boxing titles are weird.
He's
won a lot.
He's the biggest boxer in the
Yeah,
world.
there you
Okay.
go. Yeah.
He's retired though to raise his kid and be with his wife and family. But he's running basically his own boxing company. It seems like where he's training other boxers to do the boxing. Wow, I'm in a state right now, bro. I feel that sentence. That was wild. What I just said.
Yeah, he's running the boxing ring he grew up in.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Get me back on track. There's a whole plot though and backstory that basically is about his the foster brother that he grew up with named Damian Anderson, and there was an event that happened when they were teenagers where Damian was caught by the cops for something that Donnie instigated, and Damian has been away in prison for a very, very long time. So this movie catches up at the point where Damian gets out of prison and meets up with Donnie, to which he basically is trying to tell Donnie, I want a chance to get the heavyweight world champion title out of nowhere, and basically manipulates Donnie into having that happen after injuring another boxer, and then he's able to take his place. And then it's the fallout between them and the redemption for Donnie.
Odds.
The impossible odds of Donnie coming out of retirement and taking the title back from Damian. And I think I got it.
Yeah, it's a rough estimate. I mean, look, it's not about the story. It's about the heart.
But the story is a little wild to me, though.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
So this movie, for the people who haven't seen it yet or whatever it may be, but this is also for you too. This is like this is the first Creed movie that stands alone as an actual its own movie.
Yes, which worked for me because I have not seen the previous ones. I went and read synopses before we went and saw the movie, and I said, wow, maybe I should check these out.
Yeah, like the first two Creeds are basically just the son of Apollo Creed is fighting other people from the sons of other people from the Rocky movies.
Yeah, everyone's son apparently is
just
also
fighting.
a boxer now.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate dream. It's like your kid's boxing.
Yeah.
Like the first movie, he's coming back into it. He goes to Philly to meet up with Rocky, and Rocky's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second movie, that's the best one. The second one
is
awesome, bro, because Apollo Creed died from Drago, whatever, in the boxing match.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's his son is getting revenge on the Drago family. But the first message it's really about the message.
Mm-hmm.
The first movie's message was, why do you want to fight?
Mm-hmm.
The second movie's message is, who do you fight for?
Uh-huh.
And the third movie is just, we're here. I'm in LA now. I'm in LA.
No, I think
doing my thing.
I think there's a very deep message to this one. Like I was actually very touched by this movie watching it. There was a message that I felt like I haven't heard before, and I don't feel like it's a lesson that people our age experience. It's a lesson that we learn later on in life when you become successful, or like however you define success. Because to me, the lesson that they were trying to portray was that there is a point in your life where you are successful, and other people around you are going to attack you for that, and people are going to try to convince you that you do not deserve what you've earned. And I think and that includes in yourself. And I thought that was a very powerful message to me.
See, I think it's like a why, who, what,
Okay.
Like the first one was like, why you fight? Because that was like the whole message behind the first. It was like, why do you want to fight? And he's just like, I want to make my own name,
Mm-hmm.
Second movie, who you fighting for? It was just like, they showed all the family drama. And it was like, look, it's not worth getting yourself killed in the ring. You got to fight for your family.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing this. And then this movie, it was like, now you're fighting for your reputation.
Yeah.
Like, your name has been soiled because of, and you're running from things that you have deep down problems that you haven't pulled out. And
Yeah.
it's like, what are you really fighting for right now?
Mm-hmm.
Are you just fighting because he made you mad? Or are you fighting because you haven't you haven't worked through your own problems?
Yeah.
So it's good. This was a good movie, but this was definitely the first standalone movie. And there was no Rocky in it.
Yeah, so, because I know he's the trainer in the previous two, but does he die? Because he's not talked about at all in this film.
I don't know what happened. I really got to look that up. We should, as professional podcasters, we should probably have looked up why he wasn't in this movie.
So, because I know in the second one, he got diagnosed with something.
That's the first movie. He gets diagnosed with cancer. And then the cancer, what happens to it? It's probably gone. They don't address it. It's just like he gets cancer. And that's why I was like, why are you fighting? And it was like, because I want to fight for my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that, because that was like the whole spiel was like Rocky had cancer. And Michael B. Jordan was like, look, I don't like, if I'm going to fight these fights, you're going to fight your cancer. Like, if you don't fight your cancer, I'm not fighting for nothing.
Okay.
So it was like a motivational thing. And then the second movie, it was like, Rocky was like, dude, I wasn't there for my family ever. Like, you got to realize who you're fighting for, because in the midst of everything I fought for, I thought it was my family, and I don't even have them. Like, his wife is dead and his son doesn't talk to him.
Yeah.
So he's like, you got to be careful on what you do, because you're fighting for your little daughter now.
Yeah.
So like, that was like what made those movies special for me, was the connection they had. Because Creed always called Rocky Unc. He just called him Unc. He was like, come on, Uncle. Like, it was his family. So in this movie, it's strange because they don't ever explain what happened. I mean, in the second movie, they kind of explain it, that they want to move to LA because of his wife's career as a singer. She'd be better off. Like, she'd done everything she'd wanted, everything she could do in Philly to become popular, but like, there was a limit.
Yeah.
You got to move to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And so I guess like we're just presuming that that's what happened.
That's odd. They probably do explain it in the second one.
No, that's the explanation. Is
That's
that they
the
wanna
whole
move.
explanation.
They-
We moved away, pal.
She wants to move. Like they mention it in like one scene where she's like, "Yeah, I want to move to L.A." What this movie feels like? It feels like they made this movie and then wrote it out, but like it didn't feel. This movie didn't feel like this was the trajectory the first two movies were heading. If that makes sense.
Like this was kind of what's the word? We took a weird path.
Yeah,
we took a detour. That's it. Detour.
Yeah, like you can definitely tell, like, because this is Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut, so you could definitely tell that like the vision was different in this one.
Yeah.
And he was just like, all right, look, I was in the first two. I had such a hand in it. Like, I can write this new movie.
Yeah.
It just, you can definitely tell, like, this wasn't necessarily, even if this was on the roadmap, it's kind of a weird roadmap based off the first two.
Well, so was he a writer for it as well? Was he a part of that?
I don't know if he was a part of it at all. I don't know who was. I mean, it's interesting. This is like the first, being the third Creed movie, it's the first independent Creed movie.
Yeah.
Like now it's completely not even about Rocky. Like there's not even anything from the original Rocky series in this other than like obviously the name.
The fact that he's the son of Apollo Creed.
Yeah, but like
Other than that.
but the first two movies were like they had to do with the original Creed or the original Rocky movies. So like this is literally like the start of a new era of Creed, but it's strange because it's also the end of the Creed era.
Yeah.
So that's why it felt weird to me of being like the first independent on my own person now. Mm-hmm. I'm retired.
Now, see, for me, as I had not seen anything prior, and this being the first of the Creed series that really stood alone, that worked out great. This move, like, I didn't have to know anything about this. They explained it all very quickly, and then we were focused on backstory that was relevant to this specific movie, which they showed. I was like, perfect.
Yeah, sweet.
I didn't have to look up anything about this. Like, he's retired. He's the greatest in the world. That's all I really need to know. Great.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great movie. I really did.
Gosh.
I did have a great time.
This was so much fun.
For the guy who invested his whole day into watching the movies, I was like, huh, this is kind of strange. But it still was really good. And I definitely can see, like, from your perspective of, like, you hadn't seen the other movies, so this being the first movie you see, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It is very weird, though, like once you watch the other two Creed movies, you'll be like, yeah, that was kind of a strange path, but it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's a cool movie.
Yeah.
And it's very fun. It just is the first movie that's not Rocky based.
Yeah. I think for me, the weirdest thing about this movie, though, is the writing of it. There's like elements of it that seem like the first half seems very grounded in reality of what we're dealing with. And now there's some issue with their daughter Amara at school, which, by the way, never gets resolved. Like, that's a random side moment that didn't need to be there.
She's learning to fight, man.
They don't
Beat up people.
They don't finish that storyline though. That they don't talk about it. They never push. It was odd, but the second half becomes so weird to me. Of like, so Damian Anderson came out of prison after 18 years, goes and meets up with his buddy Donnie to be like, bro, you remember?
Somehow he found him. Finding a celebrity, like, that's kind of...
I mean, finding his gym, I don't think would be difficult. And then you just wait outside for a bit, which, by the way, why was if Donnie was there for the whole day working, why is his car just parked on the side of the building?
Yeah.
And not in a parking spot? That was weird.
It was weird.
That's a side note. But finds him after 18 years in prison. They get a meal, and he's like, bro, you remember, I used to box too. I'm not trained at all now. I'm still buff, but I'm not trained at all. I'm literally days out of prison. But you know what I want? I want a shot at the heavyweight title. And like, it was very grounded at first of Donnie being like, that's impossible.
Yeah.
You're older than me.
You're older than me.
You
Haven't
don't
fought
have the
professionally
training.
in 18 years.
Yeah.
You're fresh out of prison, which there has to be rules against prison.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible for this to happen. That made sense. But then even for like the turning point that allowed Damian to fight was at a party, one of the competitors for this heavyweight champion battle that was coming up was assaulted and his hand got messed up. And so they needed a replacement. And for some reason, the gym that's owned by the biggest living boxing legend can't find anyone to take the replacement spot.
Yeah.
Not a single person. We can't get anyone within the timeline. How?
Well, my favorite part too is he was like, "Oh, well, there's two possibilities," and he's like, "The first one is fresh out of a fight, so he might not be able to clear, and then there's the second one."
Mm-hmm.
So those are out of the question. He doesn't say what happened to the second one, right?
Yep.
Did you notice that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't.
He said,
second
nah.
one clearly we can't do.
But my boy, hear me out. I know he's fresh out of prison, and he's a dirty fighter. We all saw that. So let's get him in the ring.
Which, like, I guess there's an argument to be made about, like, those rash decisions by Donnie were made because he felt bad about, like, he felt the guilt that he got Damian in prison, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And so he was trying to make it happen. But still, how does this happen? How you have no other options, and no one else in the process of setting this up, no one else has the authority to say no. How?
Yeah.
That I thought was like a very bizarre jump for, like, I know they had to do that to progress the story because it only makes sense if it ends up that his estranged half brother is now taking the title and Donnie has to earn it back.
Gotta fight for it back. Yeah.
But bro,
Yeah.
I just thought that was wild.
It's so strange. There was a lot that was weird. I just looked it up. I just did some reading.
Mm-hmm.
Sylvester Stallone didn't want to be a part of this movie because he didn't like the creative direction that it was going.
Whoa.
Which makes sense because Rocky is his baby. Like you were telling me yesterday, This is his baby.
Mm-hmm.
So very fair for him. He said, I guess he did come out and say that he kind of does regret not being in it.
Yeah.
But he just couldn't agree with the creative direction, which totally backs up what I said is this movie doesn't feel like this was the way it was supposed to go.
Interesting.
Like it just feels, I'm telling you, bro, like go watch the other two movies. Like even Creed's like character traits kind of change.
Really?
Like that's what I was telling you when I told you, like, so we watched the scene where Donnie as a teenager gets picked up and they're like, just like in like the slums almost.
Yeah, you mentioned this.
Like they did not live like on the street. They lived in Bel Air, like in a nice home.
Yeah.
We've seen the home in the other two movies. We even saw it in scenes later on. That's the home he grew up in. So that was weird to me to think that he was just like on some street. But in the other Creed movies too, they're very much like, nope, Creed is just he didn't know any boxing. That was one thing that I really wanted to bring up. In the other two Creed movie, in the first Creed movie, they mention he doesn't have any boxing experience.
Okay.
Like he was going down to like Mexico to go fight, and then he would show up to LA to work the next day.
Okay.
And Rocky asked him, he's like, "Where did you learn all your moves or whatever?" And he was just like, "I'm self-taught. Like nobody taught me any of this. I've been teaching myself."
Yeah.
So that's why I said that this movie feels like they just wrote it in later.
Yeah.
Because that is kind of a weird, because he is kind of like a secretive guy, but not to the sense of when it comes to family. Like he was always like about his family and about his people.
It did feel weird to me that a focal point of this movie was that he was struggling to tell his wife about the pain he was going through. That seemed odd to me. Or is that backed up somewhere?
That is also pretty much the same case in the other two movies.
Okay.
Like when he first meets her, he never tells her who he is, that he's the son of Apollo Creed.
Okay.
He doesn't tell her until after it leaks into the press. Because when he first starts his boxing debut, he was going in as Adonis Johnson, which is his new mom's last name or whatever. So he always went into the press saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm Adonis Johnson." He didn't want anybody to know that he was the son of Creed.
Yeah.
And then his first fight, the dude who was fighting against, the manager was like, "Hey, Rocky," like, because the guy was jealous that he couldn't get Rocky. Like he's in Rocky's gym training this other dude, and he couldn't get Rocky to come train his son.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Hey, I did some digging into your fighter because I don't know why you won't come train my son. So I did some digging. That's Apollo Creed's son. You know that, right? And he's like, well, duh. That's why I'm training.
Well, duh.
But he's like, hey, but don't tell anybody. Like, come on, man. Like, that's the reason why he's not saying it, because he wants to be his own name.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets leaked into the press, and she's like, yo, what's up? Why didn't you tell anybody? Why didn't you tell me this? And he's like, I just don't want it to be me.
Huh.
I don't want to be Creed.
Huh.
But that's why, like, it's a coming of story where it's like a, why are you fighting? And it's like, you know what? I'm fighting because I am a Creed. Like,
Yeah.
that's what he kind of realizes towards the end of the movie is like, it's not that I'm trying to fight to prove who my father was. I'm trying to prove who I am.
Yeah.
That's why when they kept calling him little baby Creed, he got mad in this movie. He hates being called baby Creed. Anybody that called him baby Creed, he's like, he beats him up because he's like, bro, I'm Adonis. Like, I use the Creed name for promoting, but that's not me. I'm my own man. Because he's the bastard son of, his Apollo Creed cheated with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole thing.
Huh.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying, like, this movie is just, there's just some like little things that are just really off that you can tell.
Yeah.
Very clearly.
With the lore.
Yeah. Derived a little bit off the path, but still not a bad movie. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, by itself, it's great. But along the series, it's definitely my least favorite of the three.
Okay. That makes sense if, like, the lore is getting messed up a bit or it's feeling odd during it. It feels like, how do I put it? Especially if Stallone had said that he didn't agree with the creative direction. This feels like the storyline of this is just odd. Like you said, so much needed to be written in for it to happen.
Yeah.
And, like, this critical figure that's never been brought up before, that's instrumental in Donnie's life. No one's heard about him, and then just suddenly comes back. That's odd to me.
Yeah, and we knew he was a troubled kid. Like, you know, we know he's been in and out of juvie.
Yeah.
Like, those things all kind of, so like, it makes sense the way they wrote it in.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't feel like that's what happened. If that makes, like, it's so weird. That's just the feeling I got from watching it, was like, yeah, this all could actually line up to what really happened when he was a teenager. It just doesn't, I don't get that vibe from when I watched the first two movies that this would have been a thing.
Yeah.
Like, they never mentioned him ever. Like, they never mentioned that he was working with somebody in a fighting ring. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was just fighting in Mexico to make a name for himself, when the whole time he could have had a connection to the Golden Gloves competition. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just strange to me.
Yeah.
So, that part's kind of weird. And the fact that, like, too, they're out of Philly. Like, this happened in the second movie. The same thing happened where he was like, he wanted to fight somebody, and then Rocky was like, yo, you shouldn't fight him. He's twice your size. It's just not, you're not ready for it. Mm-hmm. And Creed was like, nah, man, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to go fight him. And he ran off to LA to go fight him without Rocky, and he got obliterated.
Yeah.
And then he realized, yeah, Rocky, I need you to fight. Like, I need you to be my manager.
Yeah.
Because you're my guy. Like, I can't fight without you. Mm-hmm. And then this movie, he's just like, don't just even explain why he left. He's just, no, I'm fighting without, like, that dude who's his manager is the reason why he lost the first fight.
Yeah.
So,
okay. All right.
so that's why it's weird. Like, they didn't address at all why Rocky's not there.
Yeah.
They don't even say his name in the whole movie.
His name isn't in it at all. He's just gone.
Which, it's a Creed movie, so that's fine. But there wasn't any explanation of why he left.
Like, if it's still the
Without
Rocky universe, you have to acknowledge it, right?
Yes,
You
yeah.
have to state something about it, especially since they made Rocky a recurring character for the first two movies. You need to say something. Yeah, he's chilling with his kid in Canada, I think is where he's at.
Yeah.
Like, they reconnected. So, yeah, he's not coming back or whatever. Just one line.
And that's like the thing is that's like the brilliance of how they wrote this to not make it add up, because on one hand you're thinking like he wasn't in it, but then on the other hand you're like, they could just argue it and be like, oh well, yeah, well, Rocky's never gonna leave Philly. Mm-hmm. Like they made it at the thing in the first movie is that every day he goes and talks to his wife's tombstone.
Yeah.
So why would he ever leave to LA? And you're like, yeah, that makes sense, but like it's never addressed.
Yeah.
So it's just like, why couldn't we just say that then? Why couldn't we just say like, not even like a nod of like, man, I wish Rocky would have came out here.
Yeah.
Or like, Rocky's not going to call you when you come out of retirement to fight again?
Yeah.
Or you just retired and Rocky doesn't congratulate you? He's not that petty.
Yeah.
Like, you were like a son to him. He even said that.
Just get like, especially with when all of the trash talk was starting to happen, and like when Donnie was on air with ESPN or whatever, like that was national news. Like Rocky didn't call at all and be like, bro, you got this.
Yeah, that's what
I
happened.
believe in you.
That's what happened in the second movie. The same thing. National news, trash talks happening to Creed, and Rocky's like, hey, man, keep your cool. You got to be calm, collected. Like, you're fighting with your mind, not your fists.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, that's why in this movie it just feels so weird that, like, he's not in it. There's just the dynamic duo between the two that doesn't, you don't get that energy in this one.
Yeah. I want to talk about the final fight, though, for a moment.
Oh, man, dude.
Look, powerful. They're so good. Just two guys going at it, man.
Yeah.
That was wild. I do want to point out, though, it felt weird to me. I wonder if it did for you. Like, there is so much emotion in this fight that made it intense, of, like, these distraught two men with an insane past and one of them hates the other, and one's just trying to get his reputation back. All this craziness to it. It was odd to me that, like, between rounds, the coaches were like having a therapy session with both Damian and Donnie. Did you notice that?
Oh, they're just like the way that they talk to him.
Yeah, the way they were talking to them on the side was all about like, you can't let this guilt get to you, bro.
Yeah,
you can't.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is the wrong place and time.
Dude, those are the parts of the other Apollo Creed or the other Creed movies that like you miss out on, because when it's Rocky doing it, you're like, this makes so much sense. I've seen this before. But when it's some random dude,
yeah,
he's just like, you got to let that aggression, you can't let that take over. In the other movies, it's Rocky going, you gotta remember, you gotta make sure you're fighting with your mind. You can't let him overpower you like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't let that grief come over you like that. And you'd be like, dang, that's powerful, Rocky.
Dang, thank you, Rocky.
Yeah.
But anyone else says it.
Anyone else, it's lame. No,
I guess it needed to come from someone with an emotional connection to Donnie when they were trying to do that on the side. I think is the problem I have with that moment.
I can't remember that coach's name that's with Donnie, but he's been with him. Duke. He's been with him through all of the fights.
Yeah.
But they made that a point in the second movie that, like, when he fought with Duke as his manager, Duke didn't know how to control him. Mm-hmm. That's why he got Rocky in there again. Yeah. So, like, that's why it's just so strange. But, yeah, that you're right. It was kind of weird, huh? I felt kind of forced.
It was just it was a couple moments during the fight, just between the rounds, where the lines that were said were just so odd for the moment. Like, if it took me out of it and was just like, we're also using this for national therapy.
Yeah.
Like, okay, sick. This is the wrong place to be saying this, bro. Like, we're in a fight right now.
Yeah, we're in a boxing match.
Don't talk to me about my guilt anymore. Like, that should have, during the montage scene, also let's have a scene where Michael B. Jordan is in therapy for a brief second, and then we go back to training.
Yeah, it felt kind of forced. It was weird. You're right. That was kind of a weird moment.
Like, and I get it. The part of the fight was the release of all that pain and emotion that had been held back by him throughout it. But it's like, I don't think we needed any of those lines. Just let the fight keep happening, because you're feeling it the whole time between these two guys during the fight.
The fight's exciting,
bro.
It's so fun to watch. That's the best. Like, it's just so captivating. Just watching it, you're like, oh.
It's so good. It's so good. I was telling you after, because I think the thing about it is, like, with like an action movie or something, the story is gonna build up to a climactic fight or something, right?
Yeah.
There's a possibility though that either it's underwhelming because it's absurd, or someone's too powerful or whatever, like they're a superhero and like whatever. But with just straight up boxing, just like hand to hand combat and just two normal dudes, there's something so visceral about that.
Yeah.
Just powerful, of like, no one has an advantage here, and it's just, there's no like full weapons or anything.
It's mind and muscle.
But the other thing is like, and this is why, like, people really enjoy boxing in general, and the reactions I was having in the theater of like, oh, during it, you have that while watching a normal boxing show, right?
Yeah.
But with real life boxing events, there's a possibility we get to the main event and it's over in one round. Like,
Yeah.
it's very quick. With a movie, though, it's guaranteed. You
Oh,
know
yeah.
the whole movie from the very beginning. You know how it ends. You're like, we're going to get to a big fight at the end. It's going to last 12 rounds. We're going to go the whole
I'm gonna
time.
go the whole distance. Yeah.
Because that's how it goes. You know it's going to be a great movie or a great fight because of that.
It was fun. It was high pace.
Oh, my gosh.
I have to stand by it because I've said this in other podcasts. Though, stop with the slow mo. No, just don't give me slow mo fights.
Yeah, we don't need that.
The slow mo scenes were weird.
Yeah.
Those felt weird.
There was one moment, oh my gosh, you made me just remember this,
The punch.
where Damien managed to get an uppercut into Donnie's stomach, into his abdomen, and then it was slow-mo on his back
it
to
showed where
show
his kidney was.
it showed where his kidney was, but showed the sweat on his back just like lifting off. Do you remember this?
Yeah, it was weird.
Just lifting off of him, and then it showed his face still in slow-mo, just with the eyes widening. And it was so goofy.
Well, that's like his Achilles heel is his kidney because he ruptured a kidney in one of his other fights.
Bro, these
So
people with
he's
their
just
kidneys,
so
man.
weak. Like his body shots are just so weak now because he's just gotten destroyed in the body. But yeah, it was weird. I was like, it was kind of like you felt it. And you're like,
Yeah.
"Ugh." But then it kept going. You're like, all right. And then it just kept going. And
Yeah.
You're like, all right. It was just 3 seconds too long, but in slow mo, it feels like forever.
Yeah, we don't need it. The moments that are the best during the fights are when it's like very quick, multiple hits all at the same time. Like one hit manages to impact, the guard is dropped on the other person, and the person being offensive manages to just get a ton of punches all at once. And the
Yeah.
whole time you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this.
You know what was kind of crazy to me is watching that last fight scene though with them when it becomes like the stadium's empty and now they're in the Shadow Realm boxing.
Yeah, the Yu-Gi-Oh boxing ring.
Yeah, the Yu-Gi-Oh boxing ring. Dude, the only thing that would have made that better is just Sylvester Stallone's head just rolling around.
He's the face of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, bro, that's coming in.
3 just comes down. And now they're fighting together. And then boom, it's Kang, Killmonger.
Yep.
They're fighting. Bow, 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 bow. Pew, pew. And then it turns into the Avengers movie.
Perfect.
Da, 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 end movie. And it just says Creed will be back.
We'll be back, yeah, bro. We'll escape the Shadow Realm. Anyway, go.
No, you could tell so is this Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut?
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely feel the influence that he had from being in Marvel movies. I don't know if you felt that vibe, but from that boxing scene alone, I was like, I feel like if Marvel were to make a boxing fighter and put him into like a fight scene, this is how it would have gone. Like, I feel like this, I don't know, just something weird. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that got that energy, but I could definitely feel the influence of Michael B. Jordan, like being in Marvel movies
Yeah.
and like incorporating some of that into this movie. Because the storytelling was pretty like attentive too. And I don't know, just some aspects of it felt like I was watching a Marvel movie. The way they like slowly built, I almost called him Kang. The way they slowly built, oh gosh, man, Jonathan Major's character,
Yeah. Damien?
Damien. I'm so good at this.
Yeah. Bro, we're pros.
Yeah.
I've seen every movie and you know all of their names.
The way they built Damien into the story was like, he was like, oh, cool. Yeah, no, I'm your brother. I'm your bro. I'm your bro. Yeah, bro. And he's like, nah, bro, I'm a bad guy.
Yeah.
Just something about it. I don't know. Maybe it's
That
just 'cause
does-
we just watched a Marvel movie and they're both Marvel characters, but
Yeah.
some part of me kind of felt the vibe like Marvel had a hand in this.
I feel like they did a good job of building up Jonathan Major's character of like a brand new addition to
Loved it.
the Creed story
Yeah.
and making you feel for him too, pulling on your heartstrings for him. Like in that situation, that's why I say the first half of the movie is so grounded.
Yeah.
It's like it's been 18 years since Donnie has seen this guy. He was like a brother to him. And in that moment, when he first realizes who it is, he feels, you can see the pain of that. And then also following up with it of compassion of like, let's catch up. Let me buy you a meal. And just being real about it.
That's his character too. He's a very guy, like, they said it perfectly in this movie where he's like, I don't want to talk about the past. That's not who I am. That's not me. Which makes sense why he's never brought this guy up, because he never brings up anything from his past.
Yeah.
And the Marvel knock too, that's not even a bad remark. I feel like that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
That he kind of has that like directorial style. Because this movie was great. Like the acting was phenomenal. I mean, Jonathan Majors, Michael B. Jordan, bro.
Jonathan Majors in particular though, like that guy is awesome.
Oh, dude, I hope we see more of him.
Bro,
man.
that I just really liked him in this movie. Like his energy throughout the whole thing, it felt very real. And then when he finally got to explode and be the actual antagonist, like in the scene where Donnie and Damian confront each other after the original heavyweight champion battle, and it becomes exposed that Damian was using Donnie to make this happen. That interaction between the two of them, you can really tell that there is a completely different air about Damian. Of he gets to flex, release his wings, and he's a new man in that moment. And it was really cool to see that awful transformation in him, because it felt like you were watching a completely different person. But it made sense that now he doesn't need Donnie. He can be who he actually is.
He could be his own person now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I just really enjoy him. I enjoy them thoroughly throughout this movie, bro.
Second movie we've seen the both of them in. Because Michael B. Jordan was kind of in Wakanda.
Oh yeah, he was in it briefly. Yeah,
He's
you're
in
right.
it briefly.
You're right.
He had a pretty good role, but then, obviously Kang, Ant-Man.
I mean, we're going to see a lot of Jonathan Majors later on. It's just cool to...
He's winning right now, man. Ant-Man just came out, and he's winning.
Yeah, bro, it seems like... I don't know how that happens where you get two, like, big movies that you're a lead or supporting character in, like a critical character in, that come out literally, like, a week apart from one another. I don't know how you get that to happen, but props to you for getting into that situation, bro.
Dude, like, that's the dream. Just go from, like, one big movie to the next. This is a big movie.
Yeah.
I'd say Creed is definitely a big franchise. I mean,
it's
on in every AMC trailer we see for the movies.
It's the third installment of it. Of course it's big. It wouldn't be on its third installment in theaters if it wasn't big.
Yeah.
So to get that role and be... Oh, man. I've just been very impressed with... I almost called him Kane.
Dude, it's such a good name. It's such a good name.
It's a great name, but he also had... As long as he continues doing other work at the same time as Marvel, I will start to break out of that. Because I don't think he wants to be known as just King. That's a great character in the long run, I think.
Well, he has so much range in that character.
Oh my gosh, yes.
He can be so many different people. Because he literally is.
Yeah, but to see him like in other major films as well, like I've just been enjoying him. That's all I have to say about him.
Kang enjoyer for sure.
Dang
it, Jonathan Majors.
I'm a Kane enjoyer, bro.
Dang it. Yeah, he's a really cool dude, bro. And Michael B. Jordan too. I mean, he's great. I'm really not. I was never crazy for Michael B. Jordan when he was like first coming up into like acting and all that.
Yeah,
because he did a lot of movies with like Miles Teller, and I really am not. I didn't like.
Did he? What did he do?
Oh, hold on. I'll pull it up. I definitely remember seeing some movies with them back in the day.
Because I feel like the first movie I ever saw Michael B. Jordan in was the first Black Panther. That's what I feel like is...
The first Black Panther? People are screaming at me right now. Oh, there was that awkward moment. That's what I think of when I think of Michael B. Jordan, like early on, was him doing that with Miles Teller. Mm-hmm. It was really weird. And then they did Fantastic Four together as well. So like for like 2 years, they were just attached at the hip because it's like the only movies they had made were the same movies.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, do you remember that Fantastic Four?
I have not ever seen any Fantastic Four stuff other than
Nobody remembers it.
nobody
It
remembers.
was bad.
It was awful.
It was really bad, bro. It was really bad.
Wasn't Chris Evans in it too?
I don't know if he was in that one. There's been two.
Oh, there's been two. Okay,
There
never
was
mind.
two Fantastic Fours. There's the one with I think it's like I don't even know.
Bro,
man.
there's some
I don't know. That one
superhero
was
stuff
bad.
that it just never piqued my interest, and I was just like, nah, this is weird.
Oh, that one was really bad, man. Miles Teller and they like went into like space. It was a whole thing.
Nah, you
It
can't
was
go.
right
into-
before Creed. So like the first Creed though.
This was it. How do I not remember this like at all?
Dude, I'm telling you, 2015 was like the year of Michael B. Jordan.
What?
It was crazy. He had those 3 movies come out.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, look. Before this podcast started, I did not keep up with movies at all. I had that revelation while we were in the theater yesterday, and was just like, I don't know if this is a movie I would ever go out of my way to see on my own.
Same. I never thought I would too, but
Like,
I'm happy I have.
not that it's a knock on the movie. It's just that even though it's big and I was seeing the trailer for it everywhere, it's like it didn't pique my interest. Someone would have had to pull me to go see it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I get that.
So my knowledge of movies in general prior to us starting this podcast, I had to tell someone about that recently. I was on a short film set and talking to I think the director on it. Told him about this podcast and was like, he was asking me about a bunch of movies. Have I seen them? And they were all from years ago. And I'm like, bro, I know
Huge Oscar winning.
I know July 2022 to now. That's all I know. So even with like a ton of people have been like, are you going to watch Everything Everywhere All at Once, which came out a month before our podcast happened? No, I'm not going to.
Yeah. We should though.
I mean, we could. We could.
We could.
Look, me dropping that, people are going to yell at me again about it though.
Oh yeah, no, it's gonna happen. It'll probably happen.
Well,
I feel like the time has come and gone. If we haven't seen it by now,
No, here's the thing. Right now is the time to see it again because it just won. I think it won Best Picture. So it is the time to see it, but also, like, has the time gone? I don't know. You know, it came out before the podcast started, so
but
I don't
did
care
it
that
win?
much.
Did it win Best Picture though, or did it get La La Land?
Did it get long?
See, that was for the movie snobs who were yelling at us. That one was for them. They went.
That's for the homies,
They
bro.
just chuckled. They just chuckled themselves.
I'm pretty sure it just won. Did it? Maybe. Yes.
Wow.
Sure.
Sure.
I say it won.
Well-
Congrats.
Congratulations, Everything Everywhere All at Once in a million places, tiny little places.
Tiny little places.
OMG, come see this. That's the title.
A part of me just wants to not see it now, to get everyone to just yell at us about it.
I mean,
and
look,
I'll never do it.
If you want us to see it, send me $20 to buy the freaking movie online because I'll see it. I'm just not going to pay $20 to watch it at home.
Here is how we work. Okay, if you want us to see a movie, just Cash App Ricky.
Yeah.
Cash App him money.
I pay money for the AMC A-list thing.
Yes.
I'm already high society. I shouldn't have to pay an extra $20. I have every streaming service, and it's not on any of them.
I want to see every movie that I can use my AMC A-list experience for. If it's not in the theater, I don't want to see it. Even deciding to watch a movie that's streaming, I don't want to because it's not at the theater.
I think between you and me, we have every single streaming service out there, and it's not on any of them. So
What?
Fix that, and then we could talk. You have to
Yeah,
pay
we could-
for it.
we
You
can
have to pay
have-
for it on like YouTube.
We'll have a discussion about it, okay? Stream it somewhere. Then send Ricky the money via Cash App. We'll talk about it. We'll talk.
I don't know. But this movie.
But this movie,
the point you just made with like this wouldn't have piqued your interest. I was the exact same way before this.
yeah.
The only reason I'm so into it now is because I was just like, oh, I should watch these movies because I know people really like them. These movies to me, before I was just like, it's just boxing, like whatever. Like I like boxing, but like, what kind of story can you put besides just like heart and grit?
Yeah.
And watching it, I'm like, wow, I was stupid for saying that because I actually really do enjoy it.
Yeah. I think
they put a good story in there. That's hard to put a good story into something like this because
Yeah.
it's just box. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, how sold can I be on you being like, I just want to be a fighter, man. I gotta fight, and it's like, all right.
Yeah, but I think that's
But
a
why?
testament to like why the Rocky series was so impactful. Like there were 6 of them, you know?
Yeah.
And it's that this it seems like the theme is that there's always the situation always ends up that the main character is the underdog somehow, right? You always want to see how can the underdog actually beat this? The odds in front of them seem so impossible to deal with. And then also it's the situation of he's just a guy. They're just a guy. They're human like me. I don't know how I could pull through it, but can he? And I think people are always really drawn to that.
Yeah. It's just sports, man. Sports are just like, it's like something about just sports just brings it out of you. And that's the thing. If you're not a sports person, it's going to be harder to enjoy these kinds of things.
Yeah.
But like that, you're right. Like that underdog, like heart of a lion, got to prove myself. It's just so good.
What's funny to me, I think I told you a little bit about this yesterday because I read the synopses for the previous Creed movies. But then I started doing research about Rocky in general. And what's funny is that the way that the original Rocky got made is an underdog story in itself, just like that movie originally was. Because so Sylvester Stallone had moved to, I'm going to go into the story because I thought it was so fascinating. I'd never heard it, and it was very powerful to me. Stallone had moved out to California to pursue acting, and was not getting any work. I read a quote from him about that he auditioned to be an extra for The Godfather in like this big Italian party where there would be like 300 people. And as an Italian man, he did not get it. And he was like, if I can't get that, how am I ever going to succeed as an actor?
What am I doing?
And apparently he saw, I think he saw like a big fight, and went home and was so inspired by it that in 3 days he wrote the original Rocky script.
Wow.
And at the time, he was in a place where he was considering selling his dog to make ends meet. He had like $100 to his name. But in an audition, later on, it came up and he mentioned that he had a script, and the producers in the room were willing to read it, and then they wanted to buy him out for $300,000 to get the script rights from him. But they explicitly did not want Stallone to play the main character because he was some random guy. And Stallone, still with $100, was like, no, this is mine. I've been in poverty for a while now. I'll deal with it. And managed to wait it out, and instead got $1 million budget to run the production, be the star, and then it made $200 million and won Best Picture. Like,
Insane.
That's an insane story.
What an underdog.
Like, how does that happen?
So cool. It's just, that is like moving, bro, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so crazy to think. Like, it really can. It can happen to anybody.
Yeah. And that kind of story, which is real, is inspiring to anyone who reads about it or hears about it. Because for me, I was like, wow, I can do anything, man. I'm not in that situation. My life is not that bad, but I can do anything just from hearing that story.
I've tried telling you, it doesn't matter, you know, some short film could make it. You never know who's watching it. Bro. You never know. Maybe one of your short films ends up on Facebook and a cousin of a cousin is Sylvester Stallone and he sees it and he's like, hey, that was great. Who was that kid? You never know. Sometimes celebrities watch things with less than 1,000 views.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
For that situation though, I usually I go into every short film now with the mentality of like, I want to be as uplifting on this set as possible. I want to be encouraging. I want to be excited about what we're doing, even if it's a student film and they wrote it in half an hour to get the grade. I want to be excited about what we're doing, because all of these people who on cast and crew are all trying to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And you don't know who's gonna go where, and hopefully people will remember you as like, wow, I loved working with that kid, when they're in a position where they need someone.
Yeah.
So
it's just so cool. And I don't know, that's insane.
I guess all of that to say is like, I don't want to toot myself, through this.
You just tooted?
I just tooted, bro.
Wow. I can smell it from here.
I feel like this movie and the series is successful because of that underdog theme.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. Even with like,
Then they got Rambo.
what? What did you just say?
I said we got Rambo out of that too, because Sylvester Stallone became popular, and now we got Rambo.
Bro, is Rambo an underdog story?
No, but this is super cool.
You're right.
Just
You're
seeing
right, bro.
Sylvester Stallone on a boat holding machine guns, going, "Ah!" It's awesome. Think about it. If he had never done any of that, we wouldn't have Rambo.
Bro, you just came out of left field with that though. Like it threw me for a loop.
Sorry, I'm thinking about other things Sylvester Stallone is in.
No, yeah. It's a great movie. We
Basically,
wouldn't have that without Rocky,
Hey,
you know?
you're right. He's living behind a legacy from just being like, I'm gonna take this $100 and I'm gonna do what I want with it.
I mean, the man is
Make it
still acting. My parents are watching a Paramount Plus show with him called The Tulsa King. I think it's Paramount Plus. And he's the lead in it. And he's like some mafia guy who's been exiled to Oklahoma. I know nothing else about it. But he's the lead in it. He's still doing stuff to this day. Like it's insane, bro. Yeah. Should we put in a
Yeah, you know, all that to be said, good movie.
good movie, bro? Let's review it. Let's rate it. We just did review it.
Yeah, I feel like we did good there.
I feel something about how I'm talking tonight and my train of thought. I feel like I'm going a little bit insane with how I'm talking right now. There's some lines and some words I'm saying. I'm getting everything screwed up right now.
It's because I threw you off.
I guess so, but I was
Rambo.
I feel like I was doing it before you did that as well. Some like beginning of the episode to now, I'm like off the rails.
It was my coffee. You can feel my caffeine from my coffee. I'm exuberating it. I sweat it out into the room.
You're exuberant. What? Say that word again.
Let's bring him in. Boys! Ooh! Adrian!
Oh my God! Stop hitting each other.
Hey. It's not the way to fight. Why are you fighting for?
Oh, Rocky, he's
Who
come back
are you
in.
fighting for?
He's come back in.
He's coaching up the minions.
He's coaching the minions now. They've built a small boxing ring in my studio right now.
Wow.
Rocky
they're
is
about to
coaching
go to
both.
punch it. They freeze framed. Wow.
Wow, they're just stuck there.
That's a nod right there.
That's perfect.
That's like dude.
All right, stay there. Stay
For
frozen
those who
like
know.
that while we review it.
All right. Creed. Start it off.
Me?
Yeah, this is, let me hear it. You hadn't seen the other ones. I want to know.
Yeah,
Final scoop.
because it's so... I do want to go and check out the first two Creed movies now.
This is good, though. This is
It-
like a one review who just seeing it as a movie and somebody who's seen the other ones.
You and I are definitely on a separate page about this movie, I feel like, because of that. We both agree that it's good, it seems like, but I don't have anything to compare this to. To me, it really is a standalone thing, right?
Yeah.
You, on the other hand, you watched the others two, and you have said, this, of the three, this new one is the worst one, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
the worst. But to say that it's the worst is still really, like, I feel like that's really harsh to say. But it is.
Yeah. But
if I had to
of
rank the three, though.
the three, it's...
Yeah. Yes.
The worst is the correct word.
No,
for
yeah,
it
it
still.
is. If I had to rank it, it'd be the lowest.
But for me, as a standalone thing, I felt like this was a really good movie. Mm-hmm. I thought that... I still think beats of the story were weird at parts. They were just kind of bizarre to me. And then towards the end, it felt like we were rushing a little bit. But it made up for it by rushing to get to the fun thing, which is the fight. And then we spent like 20 minutes in that, which was awesome.
That's the best part.
It's everyone in the theater is just waiting for that, so it kind of makes sense that we rushed through a little bit. But I thought that some of the story beats were off of how Damien how he managed to actually be able to fight for the title was just odd to me. I struggled to suspend my disbelief on that part. But other than that, I thought this movie was very powerful. It was super fun with the fights that were involved in it. I thought it was a great story overall. It was a great lesson and message. We talk about like what did we learn when it comes up with some movies? How does this movie impact you? And I do feel like this movie impacted me in a way that I didn't expect to, of what I talked about at the beginning, the lesson about at some point in your life you will hopefully be successful, and even at that point people who might even care about you are going to try and convince you you don't deserve the things you have in your life. You don't deserve the people around you who love you. You don't deserve the job that you've worked for. You don't deserve the wealth that you've accumulated. Basically, you're going to have haters.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta remember that you did earn this. You did. Your life is yours. No one gave it to you. No one handed it to you. And you got to own up to that. I think that's a really powerful message. And I don't think that's one people our age learn. I feel like that's one you learn later on in life. So I'm glad I learned that lesson from this movie, which is odd.
Look at you, lessons learned.
Bro, I think that's such an awesome point about films when that happens though. I don't think there's a situation in my life where right now or in the next several years where I would have that lesson.
Yeah.
You know, it might be till like I'm 30 where I learn that. And which is 5 years from now. Okay. It's a while. It's a while.
That's closer than you think.
Nope. But even so, I wouldn't learn that for 5 years, but I learned it now because of this movie, that's awesome to me. And I think that's the most impactful thing about this film. So for me, I'm giving this a 90.
Wow.
Like, I thought it was awesome. It was so fun. And also the acting's great. I don't have to go into that again. I'm really digging Jonathan Majors and his storyline as an antagonist, and then seeing the downfall of Donnie as he's struggling with his past through it. I thought the character arcs were well done through it. Yeah. They just were odd because of the lore for you, but as an independent movie, they stood alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I said my piece.
Wow.
I did it.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I feel like you're not going to be anywhere near me.
It's not terribly far. So I agree with you on a lot of the same points and even your negative points, but I think we're on two different reasonings behind them. Like I thought this movie was really good. I thought this was a great movie. I still get the vibe though, like I've said before, I get the vibe that this movie was written like it feels like the first two movies were made, and if you and I had gotten together and said, how can we write a third movie without like Rocky, like from the outside looking in, like how can we write this movie if we can only keep Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah,
is what it feels like. So for that reason, it's just the storyline compelled into the other two movies is just very strange, because that's another thing with the first two movies. It flows so well and so naturally together, of like seeing this man grow from just a boy into a family man. And dude, like I'm telling you, bro, like the second movie, it just pulled, like if you thought this one pulled on your heartstrings, maybe it's just a little bit different for me as like a new father. Like there was just emotional sides to that where he sees his child be born and he's like, well, I love this kid. Well, I love this thing.
Yeah.
To go in. And so like, the natural evolution is so crazy. So to see him go into this movie and he's just like completely sold out into Hollywood and whatnot, which was not his character style at all in the first two.
Yeah.
It's just so weird. You feel like we kind of took a little bit of a turn, and I get, we are years later into the future and he's post boxing. It just feels like some of his heart had changed in going into this. Like the story writing was a little bit different. I still feel like the fight was very compelling. I loved it. And the lessons in this movie are really good still. It's still very much like he's fighting for his family. Mm-hmm. He's fighting for his name, and he's fighting for his daughter. He's trying to show his child, this is how you, standing up to bullies. You can't let them overpower your life and overrule you, but there are other ways to work this out too, besides violence, which is funny because he proves that with violence.
Yeah, it still gets resolved with violence, which I feel like is why they didn't really go back into that storyline.
But I loved that final scene where he's just in the boxing ring, boxing with his daughter, because it's like, this is the legacy I leave behind for you. Mm-hmm. And it's cool because Creed started off in a place where, again, wasn't raised by his father. His father wasn't there. He grew up in foster homes.
Yeah.
So for him to have the same scenario with his kid, but different results with like, I'm leaving you this. This is your world. Like, here we are. It's just really good. With that being said, though, I still really felt like what made the other Creed movies special was the connection between him and Rocky. It was very much a father figure that was really lacking in this movie that they kind of tried to fill with other things that just didn't fit very well for me. The family aspect was a little bit strange. He's very more family. I don't know. It was really strange. Some of it was just off. I still loved it. I'm going to give it a 70.
Wow.
Yeah. 70? Still pretty high. I mean, I'm telling you right now, like, it's definitely my least favorite of the three.
Yeah.
It feels off. It just doesn't have the same feel, man. Like being in LA, the big time man, you feel way more underdog story in the first two when he's in Philly and he's grinding in the streets.
Yeah.
He's literally running down the street and a group of bikers are riding behind him, revving up their engines to push him forward, and they're circling him and he's just yelling.
Yeah.
And in this one, he's running up the hill and he's above the Hollywood sign. It feels very weird.
Yeah.
The vibe is just very different in this one. It's like watching Floyd Mayweather have a redemption, like be an underdog. It's like, bro, you're Floyd Mayweather. You're the greatest fighter of all time. You're not an underdog right now. You're actually the big dog.
Yeah.
And we're going to watch you beat the underdog.
Yeah.
So there's just something that felt weird about it, but I still really, really enjoyed it. And I will probably rewatch it again soon.
It's wild that it's a 20-point difference, which 70 to 90 isn't that big a deal. I feel like we've had that before, but it's wild thinking about that from the different perspectives that we have for this movie because of how it ended up, that I didn't have a chance to watch them beforehand and you did.
Yeah, and you know what? It might change your opinion. You might think that this one was better than the other two.
Which I still want to watch them. And if I thought that this one, like, it makes me very hopeful about the other two with what you're saying. If I thought this one was a 90, bro, what are the other two?
They're just really, those ones just have way more of the appeal of like the actual underdog side of it for him. For this movie, it's like he runs everything. And it's just so different, but it's really cool to see. Like, again, it's such a weird feeling to think like, yeah, this was the natural progression he was going to go to becoming the biggest fighter in modern day time.
Yeah.
But just something about the grit and the grind and the other two just felt way more like pulling at me. Like, yeah, I'm motivated.
Yeah.
This one was just like, now we're officially Apollo. We're officially Creed. It's officially Creed's new franchise, baby.
Yep.
It took us 3 movies to get here. You're gonna get the new swing of Creed movies. It's the last one. See you later. Like, I don't know, just something was weird about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. But bro, great movie.
Great movie.
This was
still great.
We almost didn't go see it this week. I'm really glad we managed to make this one work. This one turned out to be really fun to watch.
You got to go watch the rest of them now.
I'm going to.
And we got to watch all the Rockies.
Oh, bro, now we're talking about whole weekend. Well,
I'm already there.
With that, that's an 80 total.
80 total. I feel like that's a really good place to land this movie.
This is a good movie. People go see it. Go see it. Whether you've never seen the Creed movies or you've seen both of them, we are the living examples of this.
I would give Creed 2 a 90 and Creed 1 an 80, and this one's a 70. I feel like that's where
90,
these
80,
live.
70. Okay.
That's where these live in my mind.
Oh, 80, 90. Okay, gotcha.
70, 80, 90. That goes back. Yeah, so it's just that's where this lives in my mind. Still great movie.
Okay.
Still great.
All right. I like it. Well, with that, thank you guys so much for listening to Straight Dude Date Night. We do hope you enjoyed. If you want to support the show, be sure to Cash App Ricky, especially if you have movie suggestions. You can just...
Yeah, send me all your movie suggestions in the form of Cash App money. Yep. It's not a bribe. It's just the only way I'll see your message. It's the only social media app I have is Cash App. In order to reach me, you have to send me money, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's just the way they make it work on
That's how it works, bro. We don't make the rules.
If they made a better social media platform where I could receive money and talk to my friends, then let me know.
Yeah. Other ways to support the show, please go review us on Apple Podcasts or follow us on there and Spotify. It's always a big help. Tell a friend about this show. And we got all the social media stuff now.
We're everywhere.
We're everywhere. You can look us up.
Straight Dude Date Night. Just look it up. You'll find it.
You'll find it. You know where it's at. And with that, I think that's everything.
David, it's all about the grind, the grit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The only person that you're fighting is yourself. That's the only person standing between you and your opponent. Remember that. Take that always. Adrian.
And with that, Adrian.
Adrian!